The supervisor begins to suggest that there is a new market that needs games to look like them, but they reflect individuals with a history of racist or vile behavior.
Is that a question? Where's the question? Wait, where's the question in this?
That's not a question. That's a statement with a
Your
question
supervisor
mark.
begins to blah, 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 vile behavior?
Question?
Where's the question?
There is no question. What begins to suggest that there's a new market that needs games to look like them, but look at the identity politics. By the way, this is how these people see the world, which is wild. Imagine going through life.
It's not even a question.
I
This is
know.
not even a scenario. It's not even a question.
Hell no.
Look at her.
What are you
This girl's like
asking them?
she's taking notes. She's like, I don't fucking know. I probably
What is it? What is he asking?
The Sony girl's like, prank him.
Is it like, what do you do? Is that what they want from this?
I think that was the.
Oh wow, that's weird. It's on my side.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, let's do it again. The supervisor begins to suggest that there is a new market that needs games to look like them, but they reflect individuals with a history of racist or vile behavior.
That's not a question. That you forgot. You forgot the end part where it's like,
I'm guessing, what do you do is the question.
Or how would you handle this situation? Yeah, exactly. They forgot that part. They just put a question at the end of a statement.
Yeah.
Hell no. What? Oh my God. Well, I think that
he woke up.
This is like a critical point, right? And I just call for all of us. I think that we know, like, especially just given the climate that we're in now, the climate that we've been in for these last few years, like, I'm really just gonna even take it there.
Here we go. There we go. We got the climate thing, and he said he's gonna take it there. I got a feeling I know where he's going here. Let's see.
Have a responsibility working in games. We need to understand how influential these games are.
You hear this? They have a responsibility. They need to realize how influential these games are.
Unless it affects their money, then they have to be quiet and hide.
No. They'll still keep pushing this shit, even if it affects their money. They keep going. They don't stop.
But Smash, what I'm pointing out is the beginning scenario was, hey, if this is happening in company, like if they're firing a bunch of people, what do you do? Oh, well, if they might fire me, I have to be quiet, not say anything.
Oh, yeah, that was.
But then it's here. It's like, oh, if they're doing this, we have to speak up. We have to make a statement. Yeah. It's like, but only if it doesn't cost me money. If it costs me money, I have to be quiet.
Right. But I think it's interesting how he right here says the quiet part out loud, where he's like, it's up to us. We have an obligation to keep pushing forward because we know how influential these games are. I mean, he literally just says that. So they are pushing the ideology because they know that games can be influential on the masses. Think about that. That's a very powerful statement that this guy just said out loud.
Just how influential media is. Everything from TV shows to movies to
and I don't necessarily disagree with them, by the way.
Comic books, but games are even more influential because they're putting someone in that pilot seat. They're taking control. They're taking actions.
They want the games to be influential. Games can be influential, or crazy thought here, a game can just be a game. You notice how they're trying to.
There's a game on Steam right now that's just digging a hole. Like, you're right. It could just be a game. It doesn't have to be any vessel for change.
These people want to co-opt the narrative for a vessel for change. They want to grab gaming by the horns and make sure they control the games that do have the narrative. That should scare everybody.
They are committing to these things, right? And we need to be very careful about the images and the ideas that we allow to go out into the world.
Yeah, we got to make sure they're only the ones that we want, not the ones that everybody else needs.
They're openly calling for censorship of what they agree with and what they don't because they're the ones in control of what's allowed to be out there. That is insane.
But remember, Sleepy Inc. doesn't do DEI. Remember,
right. Of course. Trust me, bro. Kimberly Belair.
Yep.
So I would deeply ask anybody in this situation to, hell no. Like, you got to shut it down. You got to find a way to shut it down because as we allow these things to go out there, that starts to go into people's brains. You got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 9-year-old, whatever.
So they know. Weird. They know that they can inject ideology on these kids. Weird.
But it's bad if
Experiencing
we
these
don't want what they. So here's the question I would have
Mhm.
though:
Mhm.
if this is the case and it's racist, whatever.
Oh no,
I would wanna-
I'll cut you off right now and say they're the righteous ones, so they're allowed
No.
to be the indoctrinator.
That's not what I meant. I meant like taking the scenario. Let's say
Mhm.
they are making a game that reflects this racist or whatever. I think the first thing you'd want to ask the company, why are we doing this? What's the goal behind this? Before jumping to conclusions about shutting it down, maybe it's a game that shows this kind of stuff purposely to put it in the spotlight so you learn not to do it.
things, and we wonder how a lot of these ideas continue to perpetuate is because we allow them into these medias, and
We allow them into these medias. They want to be the filter of what's
Yep.
allowed out there, what's not.
That's what they've always wanted.
Exactly.
They can't blatantly say it, so they have to do it
This-
this way. Honestly, that's what
this-
this panel is for.
Exactly. But this is actually the perfect explanation. When anyone ever wants to come at me and be like, why do you constantly talk about why it's bad with Sweet Baby Inc. or these consultancy companies? Like what this guy is saying right now literally exemplifies everything that I'm speaking out against, saying I
all
don't
I'm gonna
want
say
you
though,
guys to be
Smash-
that filter.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't want you guys to be that filter. That's not your responsibility. It's the gamers with their pocketbooks and their wallets that are buying the games that will decide what you guys will make and what you won't. You do not get to decide and be the filter. We do. We have that power, not you. Stop trying to indoctrinate people, trying to get them at a young age and trying to censor shit so that you can push your ideology, because at the end of the day, it's not about making money or selling a lot of games. It's about changing minds and changing perceptions. That's all these people care about. Anyway, go on.
And no, I was gonna. I echo that. I completely agree. It's pretty good.
we allow them into, and I'm not even gonna call no names on certain games, but we already got some of them out there as well. So we got to be hella mindful with these things. Yes.
What's he talking about?
We have to be to shut it down. Be mindful of these
No,
things.
no,
Basically,
he said I can't name names. Listen.
Ideas, and we allow them into, and I'm not even gonna call no names on certain games, but we already got some of them out there as well. So we got to be hella mindful.
So he's
these things.
saying there
Saying
are
certain
already
games
games out there that have this stuff that
that
he
do
has
not- hold on.
decided have this stuff.
Hold on, these games that do not fit their ideology, and they got to be very mindful to shut those games down and get them out.
Yep, exactly. That's what they're saying.
Wow.
They're just saying it. They're saying it in a way that they can play it off. And again, keep in mind, Smash, they give a disclaimer. So this is
Oh,
just
yeah.
their opinion, and it's sarcasm, and
It's
not
sarcasm.
real.
Yeah,
it's a
totally
joke. It's a
sarcastic.
joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
When we say these things, it's just a joke, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have to shut that down.
Jabari,
We have to shut that down. First off, that sounds very Nazi of you, sir.
I'm gonna
I'm
do it.
not
We
gonna
have to
comment on
to
that.
shut that down. What's that?
I'm gonna refrain from commenting on that.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Take a different approach to this than you. So for those of y'all unfamiliar with Latin America, colorism is a real problem, right? And so when I see this question, the first thought that came to mind were like,
I love the people that always try to point out the racism, the trying to act like the intellectuals are always the ones that are like, I'm better than these people because I am an intellectual. I know better than these people. So they need to listen to me. I am the enlightened one.
Yep.
you know, the Noiso Negro Dominican kind of folk, right? Who are like a marginalized community in their own right, but also racist. And
What? How? Okay, so I imagine they're like brains imploding because it's like they're racist, but they're marginalized. We can't attack them because they're
Yeah, Kim-
marginalized, but they're
Kim's over there
racist.
like-
we have to do something about it.
Kim's
What?
over there like, please don't say that. That goes against our narrative. Don't say that.
No,
Um,
that's not true. That's impossible.
those are the kind of people who, what like us. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to this question. So,
You're not. It's not designed that way. It's not designed to give it that at all.
let me
Whoa! That was a mask off moment right there.
It was.
He just admitted that the question was not made to give the benefit of the doubt. It was
Right.
made purposely to give the worst case scenario. This
Yep.
is not a black gamers designer's dilemma or whatever they're calling it. This is literally, we created scenarios in the worst possible light so we can bash people and push
Yes.
our ideology under the guise of, well, it's just what black people face. No, this is not what you're doing here.
You're picking almost straw man arguments just to knock them down, to point to it and say, look at that, we're right.
Yeah, but if you gave it the benefit of the doubt that it deserves, as I even said, my example of, hey, what if they're doing this game to highlight these things? What if they're doing it for a different reason? You know, you don't know that. They're saying, no, we do. This is what the reason is. And it's like, no, you've chosen that that's the reason, and you haven't given any benefit of the doubt to it at all. And so you've decided, no, this is what we decided this is, and we're going to knock it down as it's this. It's like putting a coat of paint on something and saying, oh, if I painted this lion as it with zebra colors, it's now a zebra. And it's like, but what if it's a lion? And it's like, no, it's a zebra.
It identifies as a zebra.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
But like, there are groups of people who I recognize.
This is interesting. I want to rewind it. I know we're not going to finish this, but I want to rewind it for this interaction, because that is like a very real moment where the presenter gets pissed at the guy. Like he get like legit pissed at him.
A marginalized community in their own right, but also racist. And those are the kind of people who I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to this question. So
You're not. It's not designed that way. It's not designed to give it that at all.
And Kim laughed at, wait.
All
What's he doing? What's the guy
all of them. Look at them. They're all laughing.
Is he like crying, laughing?
Yeah.
Or is he in pain? Did he like collapse? Do you have a seizure?
No, he's trying to hide his laugh because he's like, oh shit. But this guy, the presenter guy, the host panel guy, he's pissed. He's like,
what's so funny about this? I don't get what's funny about this.
Because they don't know how to handle an awkward situation, so they're trying to laugh at it because they're very uncomfortable right now. This is an uncomfortable environment that has been created between these two, and everyone's instantly trying to laugh it off, being like, oh, it's cool. We're just joking around, guys.
I'm sorry. I have to say the MVP of this stream is that empty chair right there. Just sitting there
really
the entire time, bearing all this.
It really is. I mean, the chair really does carry a lot of streams. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let me finish that.
Go ahead.
But like, there are groups of people who I recognize as like, y'all just don't know better. And there's groups of people who's like, y'all do know better. And
what is better?
It's what he defines as better.
Exactly. You don't know better? What? According to what? Society or the way you were brought up? Like what is better? You don't know better? That's so like, oh God, that gets me every time. Like this guy talking down to people like he's like the intellectual, like I know all. And if you do not appease me, then you are one of the people that does not know better. Yeah, what exactly? Wolf Cult says, what an elitist take.
Yep.
The arrogance of the sheltered. Yep.
There is a thread here of that can be woven into a narrative, probably from a villain's point of view, but I think
define a villain, because I would define these people up here are villains.
He's saying kind of what I'm saying, what I was saying about like, could be painting the light, but he's like making it like such a sinister, terrible thing, like, oh, you can only use this as a villain role. And it's like, but no, there have been plenty. One of the best things, not just in video games, but in stories, is seeing a deeply flawed character, maybe even a racist character, maybe a sexist character, grow as a person and learn not to do those kinds of things. It's not because, they have to, but like those are the characters that stick with you. Because they go through a journey, they learn. And he's saying, oh, no, you can only paint them as a villain. Well, no, sometimes those characters are misguided and they learn through experience and they become a better person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
When they see
I do think it's funny how they have an idea of who the villain is in their story, where it's like they can't step outside of themselves and realize that maybe they're the villain in other people's stories.
They know they are. No, they know. They know what they're doing.
You think they have that
100%.
And they embrace it?
Kim started off by saying, contrary to popular belief, we did this. They know exactly what they're doing.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's a close race between her and Kim, but I think this girl's got Kim beat, and I know that's impressive.
Yeah.
Like I think it was in the 60s. There was a like the rise of the KKK. Actually,
I called it. I called
did.
it.
You did. You 100% called that. Wow.
She just started. Where does this have anything to do with that?
Where did that even come from? What? It's almost like she had these talking points in her head that she has to hit the bullets because it's all she knows. To her brain is just like, oh,
but
KKK.
How
This
does this
thing,
even?
This
How
other
does
thing.
this even come back to this? Like, where did this come from?
I have no idea.
and one of the artists or animators at the time got a hold of a very
Imagine, by the way, imagine having this as your line of thinking every day when you wake up and you're eating your bowl of cereal and this is your brain. This is what your brain's thinking about.
Is
These
it
people-
Kellogg's or the KKK?
The special KKK.
Yeah.
secretive KKK manual.
What the hell is she on right now?
I
And
don't
they made a
know.
cartoon out of it where Superman is taking down the KKK,
Right.
and like
What?
so all these like members of the KKK are like hearing their children, with their Superman toys, just beating up, the High Wizard of whatever they call themselves. And
When
it's
did
just
this
kind of, like,
happen?
in hearing it
In the
put
60s, she said.
into context.
I would need a source for that.
Oh, no, just trust me, bro. That's always their source.
Really kind of made them feel ashamed in certain ways. So I think I would take the assignment.
Yeah, and then make them feel bad.
But it wouldn't probably not be I would not produce what they expected. It would be something different.
So you
but
get
I think
fired
it's the
then.
beauty of our industry and games.
Yep.
It's an art form, and I'm like biased, but one of the highest art forms where you can like actually live the life of another life through someone's eyes and make choices as someone. So in that, I would use the art form either to make fun, the high route, or make fun of the people.
Make punching Nazis cool again.
Nobody,
Oh my god.
nobody wants to play or buy these games.
Oh my god. Did he just say that?
Yep, he did.
Make punching Nazis cool again.
Oh
Yes.
my
Yeah.
god.
So
Go
Oh
for
my
it.
You notice Kim clapping when he said it, by the way?
oh my god.
Like
Oh,
what a powerful statement. What a powerful statement. You were so brave to say that.
so again, these are false equivalencies.
100%.
You are saying that someone being racist is equivalent to someone being a Nazi. Then it's not an equivalency. Yes, they can.
Thank you.
Yes, they have similar. You might say there's some like parallels in worldviews you
Mhm.
could draw there, but these are not equivalent. Sorry.
But even that is kind of a stretch, but yes.
Well, you could say that like you could say that the Nazis were racist towards certain people, and that you
Mhm.
could draw a parallel there. Is what I'm saying. I don't
Right.
like to get into this kind of stuff because I just feel it's like opening a can of worms. But
Right.
that's a complete false equivalency.
It absolutely is, but it also opens the door to when they say you should punch Nazis, these people become violent because then they say you should punch racists. Then they say, oh, you should be able to punch the people you don't like. It's like they don't understand.
That's what they're saying. They're
Right, no,
saying that we
again,
would punch people we don't like, and we're going to call them this label that doesn't necessarily apply. We
Because they
decided
want
it
to
applied.
justify it in their head to make it logical. Like they're very violent people, and they're
What
looking
does
for ways
Kim?
to
What does
justify
Kim
it.
have to say now?
I can't wait to hear this.
I think there's a lot of interpretation to this question. I think looking at it though, to me this is happening already right
Yes.
now, in the sense that I think I think on that side of the table the interpretation for me feels like, yeah, we're kind of like they are asking for like we like the KKK, like make some characters about it. And I think that is a great direction to go in if there's a sense of self-awareness, or if it's something that if this supervisor is more asking for a take on it. But I feel like this kind of thing is happening in the way of removal of quote unquote DEI from games, this idea of wokeness, right?
Oh my
To
god!
say,
Oh my god! What a delusional person!
I need to
I
rewind
have no
that.
words.
I need to rewind it. Hold on.
asking for a take on it. But I feel like this kind of thing is happening in the way of removal of quote unquote DEI from games, this idea.
Okay, so they're not a DEI company, but yet she's the one that continues to bring up the removal of DEI in games. If you're not a DEI company, why would you care about the removal of DEI in games?
She's making it no, but she's making it. She's making an equivalency, saying that games that push these kind of racist whatever are games that remove DEI from games.
Right.
That's what she's basically saying. She's not saying it outright, but she's basically saying that we're already seeing this when people remove DEI from games. Those people are bad, and we need to get rid of them, and we need to make fun of them, and make games to
Right,
make fun of them, whatever. That's what
but
they're saying.
But she started this conference off saying that they're not a DEI company. Why would she care if DEI is getting removed from games? Is my point.
Because we all know that was a load of crap.
Right, exactly. Like,
It was a load of sweet baby crap.
Idea of wokeness, right? To say, when they say I need games to look like them, they so often just mean like, we want to look at the world we want, or the world.
this coming from Self Kim Cert.
This is so ridiculous. She is saying that we are purposely making games of like terrible people because we want games that look like us, when all we've said is we don't need characters to look like us. We don't need to do these kinds of things. We can have a game that doesn't have a character that looks like us, as long as it's a well done game that we can all relate to. It's a good game. We'll play it. We'll buy it. We'll support it. We don't want these things. So she's saying, well, these people are doing this. It's like, no, you guys are the people doing this.
Yep. And I sure as shit don't want to financially support any of these people that are injecting ideology in a game, trying to control a narrative. That is not what gaming is about. I do not think it's a good idea to financially support people that are trying to control a narrative in gaming. That's a very dangerous road to be going down.
The world that we desire, and often that right now I think it looks like removing people from the story, right? Removing people and undesirables from that world in order to make games look like them. And I think,
what the
oh
fuck
my god
is she talking about?
He is saying that removing DEI from games is being done so that we can make games that look like us. That is what she's saying.
Oh my god, you're right.
That is exactly what she's saying.
I didn't even notice that. Like, holy shit, I'm
That
so
is-
glad you're here for that.
That
That's so
is
true. That is what she's saying.
insane. Kim,
Oh my
we
god.
don't want to remove diversity from games. We want to remove forced diversity in games. You are the guys doing this.
Daenerys hit it. It's projection. It's all
Exactly.
these people do. It's all they know. Whenever they talk, just assume they're telling on themselves every single time.
Exactly. She is literally saying that we're doing this. Kim, you are the one doing this. You are pushing things
Every
into
sweet
games.
baby game has a character that looks like Kim Belair in it. Every single one, almost to a T.
Even if that wasn't the case, again, they're pushing for these things to purposely put them in games because they need characters to look like them. We are saying we don't need that, and we'd like to remove that. And they're saying that us doing that is doing the same thing that they are doing. That by removing the stuff that what they're claiming that we're doing it, but they're the ones doing it. But by claiming, hey, we don't like that you keep pushing characters into games where they don't belong. And we don't like you like forcing this stuff into games where it doesn't work. But by doing that, we're making them look like us, and so we're doing the same thing they're doing. They're bad, and that's why they have to keep pushing for DEI in games. No, Kim, you can't have it both ways.
Well, I mean, as Calv says, they're narcissistic, so they think
I
they can.
cannot believe this. This is
A narcissistic person thinks they can have it both ways.
This is literally one of the most delusional things that she's ever said. Removing DEI is forcing games to look like us, Smash. That's why she's fighting against us. By removing this stuff, we are forcing this stuff into this.
I need to hear her say that.
if thing is happening in the way of removal of quote unquote DEI from games, this idea of wokeness, right? To say, when they say I need games to look like them, they so often just mean like, we want to look at the world we want or the world that we desire. And often that right now, I think it looks like removing people from the story, right?
So, okay, if we're going to go along with her narrative here, she's saying the consumer, the person purchasing the product is saying, I would like the game to look like the game I want the game to look like, and I would buy that game. And she's saying, no, you can't do that because that inherently removes what we're trying to inject into your game.
Yes, but she's going a step further. She's saying that by removing this stuff, we are the ones pushing for games to look like us, when they are always the ones doing this. We don't care if they look like us. We just want good games.
Well, when you're actually someone that plays games and can deeply understand what makes games tick and why they're so much fun, you see the slop that they're throwing out there. You're like, what the fuck is this? Nobody is asking for this. No one wants to play this. Who put these people in these positions? Why are they still gainfully employed and continuing to push their ideology that nobody is buying? Why do they think it's going to work next time when they've lost how many millions upon millions, and how many failed game companies and jobs lost and studios shut down and games that have flopped? How many does it take? At what point will they be like, you know what? Maybe we're not going to keep supporting these people. What
They're
is
never
that
going
point?
to, because these people are going to continue to push that. They're demonizing us. It's projection 100%. They're pushing on. They're saying by removing DEI, we're making games that look like us.
Yep.
But by
you're
pushing
absolutely
DEI,
right.
they're making games that look like them. So in their minds, they have to fight against us because we're the baddies.
Yep.
But in reality, they're the ones who are pushing it. I don't care. Give me a game with the black lead. Give me a game with the female lead. I don't care. Do a good job.
Yep.
Give me
Don't
a good
inject
game. I will
ideology like
play
that.
it.
Yep. But it's almost like the well has been poisoned to the point where even if they magically were able to do that, I mentally would not be able to get past that, because I'm like, no, these people, I know them too well. I do not trust them. There's something hidden there. I don't. They cannot be in the industry anymore. They cannot. Like, if the industry is going to move forward, they cannot be a part of it.
Well, you're right. I wouldn't, if Sweet Baby Inc. finally came out with a game that was like written well, whatever, I wouldn't be interested in it, because I would be like, okay, I know these people. But this is why this explains her entire mindset. She looks at us as we trying to remove DEI makes us the people trying to make games look like us. That is such a deep insight into her mind and just how warped it is, that she can't take a step outside of herself and look and go, hey, maybe I'm the one trying to put myself into games because I need it to look like me. When in reality, all we want are good games.
Yep. And that was a great catch by you, because that kind of a little bit flew past me until you said, I was like, oh yeah, that is.
She's word salad. You forget. I'm a Kim a connoisseur. I've seen a bunch of Kim stuff, so I know how to speak word salad.
You're also someone that deals with the human psyche in a much deeper level than the average person. And for people that don't know you, because I know people do know you, but for those who don't, you can tell people like what your background is if you want.
Yeah, I'll say it, because apparently haters online seem to think this is some sort of own when they bring it up, which I think is quite funny. I am an AMFT. I am completely open about this. An AMFT is an associate marriage and family therapist. I've been doing it for over 6 years now. So I think I have a pretty good grasp on these kinds of things.
Removing people and undesirables from that world in order to make games look like them. And I think that ultimately that we're already seeing it. And I think it's really, really about pushing back against it and saying like, no, what are we trying to do? Or if there's an opportunity.
This is so much word salad right now.
Well, she's following it up. She's saying that we either push back on this when they try to remove DEI, we either push back on it because they're trying to force it to make it look like them, or we subvert it.
Yep. But to her, it is a war. She's basically saying that here.
She literally called us undesirables. She said we're removing undesirables from the game. Did you catch that? She said we're removing undesirables.
I missed that. Hold on.
Often just mean like we want it to look at the world we want, or the world that we desire. And often that right now, I think it looks like removing people from the story, right? Removing people and undesirables from that world in order to make games look like them. And I think that ultimately
removing people and undesirables from that world in order to make games that look like them. Wow.
This is, you know what this is? This is a sales pitch. This is all this is. That's all this is. She's constant sales mode where she's trying to create a problem so that companies hire them. That's all this is.
It's not a problem though. The problem is being caused by them.
I know that.
I know. I just wish other companies would see it. And it's so sad because they often just say, well, you just don't like diversity. You just don't like this. And it's like, no, I'm totally fine with it. Just do it right.
Yep.
I think that's where this one lands for me. But I am biased in that regard.
Oh, I'm sure there's some issues.
She is
there. Hold on.
biased. She admits it, Smash. She is biased.
Well, I mean, to be fair, everyone is biased. That's kind of like that's kind of obvious, but yeah, at least she has some self-recognition on that.